Okay, welcome everybody. In this tutorial we are going to create the sprites that move across the screen that we are going to shoot with our site. Okay, so I'm going to click on choose sprite and I'm going to choose a sprite that already exists. So I'm going to click on the search button and I'm going to choose a balloon. So on goes my balloon and I can move my balloon around here. And then I'm going to go to my code section, and the first thing we're going to do is make sure our balloon appears when our game starts. Okay, so if you remember from before, we had the event block and we had the broadcast that sends a message to tell all the other components of the game to begin. So we'll say when I receive, now remember I called mine start game, you could have called your broadcast something else, but mine basically when I click on my screen, my game starts. So I now receive the message start game. I want my balloons to start appearing, and the way we're going to create these balloons is by creating a single balloon that we're going to create copies, or in this case it's called clones. Okay, so we'll need a forever block, so I go to control and drag my forever block on here, and there's my balloon, and this is going to be the balloon that I create all the copies from. So I'm going to go to control, I'm going to scroll to the bottom of control and I'm going to say create a clone of myself. So this block enables forever clones to be created or copies from this original balloon here. Now what we do want to do is make sure we have a little break between the time that each balloon is created. So I'm going to go to control, so I'm going to add a wait. And now you can choose the time in here, but I'm going to give mine a 2-second gap between creating my balloons. So there is my original balloon, and I'm telling it now to create a clone every 2 seconds. But I don't want the original balloon to show. I only want the created clones to show, okay? Because this balloon will not work. It just creates copies of itself. So I'm going to go to looks, and then I'm going to go to hide. So we hide the original. Okay, so it hides, and now we're going to start creating our clones. It's here where we start giving our balloons behaviors. So we will need a control block, and this is going to be a separate bit of code. So we start our separate bit of code next to our original. So say when I start this clone, we want our character to show. So I go to looks and show. So our clones will show, and we want them to go to a location on the left hand side of the screen. If you remember, we have a coordinates. X coordinates go this way, 0 to around 220, 240 here, and 0 to 220, 40 here, or minus this way, positive this way. And this way is the Y coordinate, so it's about Y to 200 at the top, and 0 to minus 200 at the bottom. So we want our x coordinate to be about at this point. Okay, so it's about minus 220. So we go to motion and we need our go to. So this is when we give it our starting coordinates. So there is my go to x and go to y. So I'm going to change my x to minus 200. So that's my x. So my x coordinate will start it here. Now I want our y coordinates to start anywhere in this location here, so it needs to be quite random. We don't want them to appear in the same place each time. So in our operators we need a pick random, so that goes inside our y section. So our x is definite, we want it to be minus 200, but we want our random y to be anywhere between here and here. So that really is minus 50y is about there, so I'm going to change the first coordinate to minus 50, and the second one to positive about 180, which is about here. So 180, then I'm going to add that just after my show. So that gets my sprite appearing here, and then we want it to move across the screen till it gets here. So we're going to make it forever. So go to control and forever. So we want it repeating until it gets past a certain point here. So repeat until. So another control block. So we're checking it's got to a certain point. So repeat moving forward until it gets to this point. So we want our X position to be checked. So we go to motion, and our X position coordinate is just here. And we need to make sure it's greater than 220. Remember, X 220 here, so when it gets past 220, we want it to disappear. So I click on my operators where I get my greater than. So look at the 3 tool here. We've got equals, less than, and greater than. So I drag my greater than in, and I need to change that number to 220. So X goes in there. So X position, which is around here. So when my balloon gets to here and passes 220, we want it to disappear. So I'm going to drag that into there. So it's checking, repeating the instruction in here until it gets past 220. So our instruction here is to move forward or change the X coordinate. So again, we need to go to motion, and we're going to use the change X. So we're going to change X each time by 5. So basically we add 5 to X as we go along. So imagine it's here, it goes 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. So it keeps repeating, adding X until it gets past 220. And that goes inside our forever loop. So next what we want to do is make sure our balloon disappears when it's completed the movement all the way across the screen. Okay, so when it gets to this point, it gets out of this repeat until loop, we will make it hide. So we make sure it goes after the repeat until loop. And we also basically want to remove the clone altogether. So next we go to control, and we're going to delete the clone. Okay, so we delete this clone after it's hidden, so it no longer is part of the game, because after 2 seconds a new cloned balloon will appear. So let's see that working now. When I press on my green flag, press my enter key, and there go my balloons floating across the screen. So obviously they've got a gap of 2 seconds between them. If I stop that and change that to 1, you will see the difference in speed. So it gets quite difficult, the game. Okay, so that is how you create clones of your balloon and you get them to move across the screen. Okay, I'll leave that code in front of you so you can review it. Okay, good luck, and I will see you in the next tutorial.